just jump right in. I know it's near the end of term, and so a lot of you are tired, but we're going to do some revision today. So we're going to be focusing on some algebraic expressions today. So that's going to look at mostly factorization things and some fractions and some products. And then on Wednesday, we're going to look at equations. So we're going to bring those two things and sort them out. And then on Wednesday, your quiz will be on these expressions that we've done today and the equations from Wednesday. Okay. I know a lot of you don't know me because there's a lot of new names here that I haven't seen before. Some of you know me from last year or from lessons that I've started this year, but I'm Teacher Jen. I'm going to be looking after you this week. Don't worry, Teacher Coco will be back next week. I'm just here to give her a small break. So I promise I will look after you. Same rules apply as your normal lessons. If you have a question, pop your hand up and we can chat and we can go over whatever you need help with. We've got Nelly here always to help you. You can send her a direct message. She'll help with everything. She's going to keep the chat like going. So yeah, so don't stress. We got you.
Yeah.
I think you still have lessons during the holidays. Maybe I'm wrong. Nelly, do you still have?
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Yeah. Because you got to keep your brain sharp, guys. Maths is about practice. We got to keep it going. Keep it going. Okay, so we're going to talk just about a couple of quick things today. The first thing I wanted to talk about before we actually jump into sort of revising what we need to know for factorization is just a quick little thing on products. So products are when we're doing multiplying of things. So who thinks they can help me out if I had something, let's not make it difficult. It doesn't need to be anything fancy. If I had something written like that, so if I had x plus 4 in brackets squared, who can help me out with how I would start doing that if the question was to simplify? Yeah, Tato, how would I start doing something like this?
You would actually start by opening two brackets, if I'm not mistaken.
That sounds perfect. So what would those two brackets look like?
Is going to be x plus 2.
Oh, you know what you're doing, sweetheart? You're trying to factorize.
So actually, when you open two brackets is when you're doing factorization.
Sometimes. So like that. So the thing that you're talking about, we're going to be looking at when we start dealing with this box over here. If they're not telling us to factorize, if they're just asking us to simplify or find the product, then we wouldn't be doing the thing that you think we're going to do. What you're thinking of is great. It's called difference of squares, but we're going to be dealing with it when we start with factorization.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but come back when we get there. Yes, come on, tell me.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi.
First, you are going to start by opening two brackets.
Okay, I still like that idea. And what am I going to put into those two brackets?
You're going to say x plus 4, and in the second bracket, you're going to say x plus 4.
Yes, little genius. Well done. Why am I writing those two brackets like that?
Because it said you must, I don't know, ma'am.
Okay, it's because this whole bracket over here is being squared. So remember, whenever we square something, it's meaning we're writing it out twice. So like if I had something like 5 squared, that's the same as saying 5 times 5. So that's all we're doing. We're saying x plus 4 times x plus 4. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Beautiful. Okay, so now that we get to this point, guys, as soon as we've written it out twice like this, all we have to do from here is we do our FOIL. If you remember FOIL, we haven't looked at this for some time. That's when you multiply your first two terms. So x times x, which gives you x squared, your outer terms. So that's f, this is o. So x times 4 gives us the 4x. Again, these are your inner terms. That's your I. X times 4 gives you 4x. And then your last terms, 4 times 4, which gives you 16. And then you can just simplify that. So you would just have x squared plus 8x plus 16. Okay, so this is just like a very quick thing that I just wanted us to go through, because one of the biggest mistakes when it comes to products with these types of questions is that from here, most people answer x squared plus 16. And unfortunately, when you do that, you will get 0 completely. You will not get any marks at all. And this way here, you would get a minimum of 2. So just be careful. When in doubt, write it out. Well, at least you remembered it's like early enough to be in the lesson, so you don't need to stress. Okay, cool. Does anyone feel confused about what we have written very quickly up in the purple up at the top? Let me know if you are. And if we're all good, we can jump into some factorization. We're just going to do a very, very quick sort of recap of all of it. And then we're going to do some questions. Yeah, so the short way, all we would be doing, I don't want this to confuse anyone. There is a short way of doing this. If you're wanting it to do it the quick way, if a bracket like that is being squared, you square the first term, so you get x squared. You square the second term, so you would get 16. And then you work out the product. So x times 4, which is 4x, and you double it. So you say 2 times 4x, which would give you 8x. So that's the quick way. But if you're not feeling confident, don't try and jump into the blue. Stay in the purple. Hi, Anela, welcome. I'm not your normal teacher. I'm just here for this week, but I promise you are in good hands. We are going to be doing some revision of algebraic expressions today. I hope you have a great lesson. Yes, Mwande, how can I help?
Oh, did I answer this question? I'm sorry, I just got into this meeting now. So should I guess it's a no, sorry.
No, it's okay. Don't worry. Don't worry. That's okay. Okay, let's jump. Okay, so we're going to do some factorization revision quickly. We just want to go over some of the rules. When we have something that we have to factorize, what is the very, very, very first thing we have to think of? Because if this is in the question, we have to do it. What is the first thing we have to do when it comes to factorization? Yes. Oh, so close. So close. I got so excited because I saw a lot of letters. We're not going to group just yet. Grouping will come into it. Yes, there we go. We are going to identify the highest common factor. Okay, so when we factorize, the very first thing we want to do is we want to see, is there a highest common factor? So for those of you who don't, those of you who know me will know that I write this all the time. But those of you who don't, I'm just going to write it here on the side for you. Okay, so the very first thing we have to see is there a highest common factor? Now, highest common factor is if we have something like that, we can see that a 2 can go into both of my terms. And so if we were to factorize, I could take out that 2 and I would be left with x minus 4. So that's an example of taking out a highest common factor. But if there is a highest common factor, we have to take it out. It's the first thing we always have to do. Okay, cool. Next step. Either there was a highest common factor and we've taken it out, or there wasn't a highest common factor. So we think about the next thing we do. So we look for option number 2. What is the second thing we're going to try and see if there is? Dots. Yes, beautiful. Okay, dot stands for difference of 2 squares. Okay, so dots, by its name, it's telling us what we want. If we had x squared minus 4, let's go over what these different letters are saying. So the D for difference, that's our minus sign. Then we've got of 2, it's because we've got 2 terms. And then the S is saying squares, and it's because they are both square numbers. Okay. So if there is a minus sign, if there are 2 terms, and if they're both square numbers, then we can do dots. And when we do dots, we have our 2 brackets. We always have a plus, and then we have a minus. we work out what the square root of our first term is, and we pop that in the front of both, and the square root of our second term, and we pop that at the back of both of our brackets. Okay, so that is dots. So number 1 was highest common factor, number 2 is dots. Let's say now there weren't 2 terms. Let's say that there were in fact 3 terms. What would I be looking at if there were 3 terms in my situation? I know you know it. Yes, Mateo, well done. Trinomials. Excellent. Okay, so trinomials are when we have 3 terms, and generally it's in the setting of x squared, let's say, plus 5x plus 6, for example. So we have a square, and then we have a single one, and we have a constant. And when we work out our trinomials, we're wanting, again, we will have 2 brackets. This is when that idea of the crisscross method comes in, especially if you have a coefficient of that x squared value over there. In this case, I don't, so I've just got x's, and then I would break up my 6, and I need to get the number 5, so I can break it up with 2 and 3, both pluses. So I would x plus 2, x plus 3. So that would be a look at our trinomials. So Michaela, we are doing a revision of algebraic expressions today. Okay, so these are the 3 big ones. These are the ones that come out the most often. Yes, Tato, how can I help?
Ma'am, the trinomial, isn't it where we look for factors of the last term, and when you add them, you get the middle term?
Absolutely. So you are looking for factors of this guy. So those are the factors over there. So my factors, if I look at my factors of 6, it would be 1 and 6 and 2 and 3. So we're using 2 and 3, and it's to get this middle number over here. So 2 plus 3 is what gives us our 5.
Okay, ma'am.
So you're 100% right. Let's see. Okay. We also have some additional things when we get to grade 10. We're not going to spend a huge amount of time talking about them today because they can be quite stressful. We might look at some examples depending on our time. But if we have 4 terms, so just these numbers are written in this order to help you. So 2 as in there needs to be 2 terms, 3 because they need to be 3 terms, 4 because they need to be 4 terms. Okay, so the 4th thing that we would be looking for would be grouping. And then we also have things like highest common brackets, and we also have a difference or sum of cubes. So those are all of our different things when it comes into grade 10. They all can be asked in a test or an exam situation, but these 3 are the big ones. These are the ones that you're going to see the most of. So these are the ones that are most important to completely master. Okay. Does anyone have questions about what's happening up on the board at the moment? If you do, let me know. It's okay, Kamal. We're going to do lots of examples today, so I don't want you to stress. This is just kind of like a very quick summary of a very big section. So don't panic if you're feeling like it's a lot right now. Okay. All right, let's try do some questions. Yes, sorry. Hi, Pelisa, how can I help? YouTube.
Hi, Rosie. Hi, Rosie.
No, my internet's also not having a good time today. I think load shedding's really done a number of us today. Okay, the last thing we need to talk about before we jump into some questions is looking at fractions. And I know you hate fractions, but they are part of our life, so we need to talk about them. Okay. We have got a situation over here. We've got 4x over 5 times 10 over x. Who can tell me what the quickest thing for me to do would be in this situation? Who can tell me a nice quick thing for me to do? Yes, Unami, can you help me?
So, ma'am, I think you have to cross multiply.
Okay, so your wording is very close. So we're going to cross simplify, but yes, great. Okay, and how would I do that?
Ma'am?
Yep.
Ma'am, please ask the question again.
How would I cross simplify these two fractions?
So, ma'am, you would say 4x times x.
Okay. So you're on a close track. I'm going to help you out a little bit over there. We're not going to multiply them together. We're going to see what in them we can simplify. So what is in both of them? So basically, we're going to look at a numerator and a denominator, like you said, so the 4x and the x, and we're going to say what is in both of those terms that we could simplify. So basically, x can go into 4x and x can go into x. So we can simplify those x's. That's why it's called cross simplification. And if we look at these two over here, if we look at this 5 and this 10 over here, we can say, well, what number can go into both 5 and 10? Who can tell me? What number can go into 5 and 10? 5, exactly. So 5 can go into itself once and 5 can go into itself twice. So what we're left with is 4 over 1 times 2 over 1. And when we have fractions and we're multiplying, all we do is we multiply the tops and we multiply the bottoms. So we have 4 times 2, which is 8, and 1 times 1, which is 1. And anything over 1 is just itself. So we can just write that as 8. Okay. Now, if you're not feeling great with cross simplification, that's okay. Remember, in maths, there's always more than one way to get to the same answer. If we have 4x over 5 times 10 over x, we can just choose to start by multiplying the tops and multiplying the bottoms. So 4x times 10 would give me 40x. And at the bottom, 5 times x would give me 5x. And then we can choose to simplify. So then our x's can simplify, and 40 divided by 5 would give me 8. So we can always do it the longer way if we're wanting to. Okay. Beautiful. Yeah. Sorry. Oh, sorry. I didn't see your hand there. Tato, how can I help?
Ma'am, the way I've learned this at school, they taught us that you first cross them, meaning x go to 10 and then 10 goes below. 10 becomes a denominator and then x becomes a numerator to make it easy for you to understand.
So we're going to cross them when we look at this, one down here. We're going to change around that 6 and that 7.
So is it where you're going to even change the sign?
Yes, exactly.
Oh, okay.
So we only do that when we have a divide sign.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Great. So that's exactly what we're going to do, guys. Now, over here, we've got this divide sign, and we're going to think, well, we need to change it to being a multiplication sign because we know what to do if it's a multiplication sign. So we're going to take our first one, we're going to keep it the same. So 3w over 21. Now, those of you who know, I love to say this, when we have a divide sign, we think of KFC, okay, as in the yummy chicken. Saying yummy chicken, I'm a vegetarian, but I feel like people like KFC. So I'm saying KFC. I do smell it, and it does always smell very enticing on my drive home, to be honest. The K stands for keep, then the F stands for flip, and the C stands for change. Okay, so when we have a divide fraction, we think of KFC. We keep our first fraction, we flip our second fraction, and we change the sign. Keep, flip, change. KFC. And once we get to this point over here, now we can do what we were doing in our previous question, and we can cross simplify. Okay, so we can say, well, what can go into 3W that can also go into 6? Can you tell me what can go into both of those terms? Beautiful, 3. So my 3 can cancel there, and 3 goes into 6 2 times. All right, now let's look at these ones. What can go into 21 and into 7? Beautiful. 7 goes into itself once and into 21 3 times. So we land up with W over 3 times 1 over 2. And all we have to do is multiply our tops and multiply our bottoms. So W times 1 is W, 3 times 2 is 6. So that is a quick summary of how we work with fractions. So what we're going to be doing in today's lesson is we're going to be mixing these two ideas. So we're going to be mixing factorization and fractions into some questions. Yes. Okay. So when we're going from when we're working with a divide question, the only thing that happens is it moves up. It doesn't become a negative or anything like that. Okay. Guys, if you would like to take a screenshot, I will just zoom out a little bit so you can get all of this in. Sure. So the longer method with this one is from this point over here. So when you have 3W over 20, oh goodness, my pen got very excited there, over 21 times 7 times 7 over 6, you would multiply the tops. So you would have 21W over 66. And then you would simplify 21 over 66 to be W over 6. No, not 66, 120. Gosh, 126. There we go. Okay. Don't panic about this too much. This is sort of just like an idea to get an idea of what we do with fractions. We're going to be using this concept in the questions that we play around with today. So this is just sort of summarizing the work that you've done with expressions, just to reboot our memories a little bit, because I know some of you haven't done it in a while. It's okay, Michael, welcome. Okay, let's try jump into some questions, guys. Let's see how we do. Okay, when do you know where you must flip? You know you must flip as soon as you have a divide sign. So as soon as you have fractions and there's a divide sign, your brain needs to think KFC. And if that makes you really hungry while you're writing your test, that's fine. But that's what we need to think. See a divide sign, see fractions, KFC. I'm not sure if you're going to be doing trigonometry before school opens, because I don't think that you've done it as a course yet. But I can check with you, Coco. You have done it?
Yeah, I think
okay.
I think you have to go to the website and see like previous lessons on trigonometry.
Thank you, Nelly. What would we do without you? It's okay, Mawazi, don't panic. Okay. Oh, sorry, Makalobe, how can I help? You just need to unmute from your side.
Ma'am, you're saying when we see a divide, we must flip. So if we have a minus or plus, do we flip or do they remain the same?
No, if we have a plus or a minus when we have fractions, then we need to get a lowest common denominator.
Oh, okay.
So they're in a different section of things. So pluses and minuses with fractions, always a lowest common denominator. A multiplication sign, we just tops and bottoms, and a divide sign, we think KFC. Okay. Let me just write that over here though, because it's a useful thing to know. I'll keep this question up here. So for those of you who are feeling confident with fractions, you can give question 1 a try so long. It's on the board. We're going to talk about it afterwards. But for those of you who would need just a little bit of extra help with fractions, if we use a different color so it's a little bit clearer. Okay, so if we have a plus or a minus, then we want to have a lowest common denominator. If we have a times, then we just do top and top, bottom and bottom. And if we have a divide, then we need to think KFC. Okay. Yes, Oweitu, how can I help?
So, ma'am, at school, they only taught us that we only tip and times when the numerator is bigger than the denominator.
So you can tip and times anytime. The numerator doesn't have to be bigger. As long as it is a fraction and it is a divide sign, you can tip and times.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
No problem. Okay, guys, please, can you give question 1 a go for me? I want you to think about it very carefully. Think about what you need to do. I'm going to give you a little bit of a hint and suggest that we need to look at that first. Okay, and I want you to think about how we did that right at the beginning of this lesson. There's lots going on in this question, but if you can do this question, you can do a lot of the product questions. That's why I wanted to give it to you, just as a way to sort of combine a lot of ideas. Francisca, that's great. If you're feeling confident, I'd love you to talk us through the answer. Just pop your hand up for me, and then I can unmute you if you want to. DOT stands for difference of 2 squares. It's okay. You don't need to worry. I've had lots of students call me mom in class, so I'm not upset about it. Okay, give it your best go, guys. Think about each step. Take it 1 step at a time. Don't try and jump ahead. And if you're feeling good and you're feeling confident, let me know. 25b squared is what you're wanting. Definitely got to square the b. It's okay if your answer's wrong. That's okay, guys. Remember, the only way we get better at maths is by trying. And if we make mistakes along the way, that's okay. So I'm going to give you a bit of time to give this one a go, and then we'll talk about it nice and slowly. And we'll see what we can get through today. Oh, sorry, guys, my cat has decided to join our lesson. Okay, if you are needing a little bit of extra time, can you just let me know? You can send it as a DM so you don't need to feel embarrassed, but I just want to get an idea. Okay, we're getting lots of different answers, and that's totally fine, guys. We're going to talk about this slowly, and we're going to show you each step, so you don't need to stress. There will always be places you could get marks. That's okay. You can have a little bit of extra time. What I'm going to do while you're working is I'm going to put question 2 up on the board just for those who have finished question 1. Question 2 is a very nasty question, and it talks about something that we didn't talk about when we were doing revision of factorization. We didn't talk about it because I knew it was going to come into this question. So I'm just going to warn you that you need to be careful with it. It's a very nasty question, but it would be worth at least 6 marks, question 2. That's okay, CP. Yeah, absolutely. Type your answer for question 1. That's not a problem. You can definitely type your answers. Michael, is your answer 1? Is that what you're, or does that 1 have a deeper meaning? Okay. All right, let's start breaking question 1 down a little bit. Which color have we not used today? I think we've used the star. Oh, we haven't used one of these ones in a long time. Let's use the galaxy pen. Okay, so the first thing that we're wanting to, oh, that's way too light. A lot of you won't be able to see that. Sorry. This is take that back. See if this one's any better. Okay. So we're going to keep this -4 here, and then we're going to very invested in this lesson. We're going to take that a cubed minus 5b, and we're going to write it out twice so that it is in 2 brackets. So we're going to say a cubed minus 5b, a cubed minus 5b. So all we've done is we've taken those 2 brackets that were squared and we've written it out as 2. That's all we've done. Okay. Now, if you did that, I want you to give yourselves a tick. In a test, you wouldn't get a mark for that step, but I want you to give yourselves a tick for that step if you've done it. Okay. Now from here, what we're going to do is we're going to do FOIL. Let me just get a different color happening. So we're going to do FOIL over here. I'm going to multiply our first terms. We're going to multiply our outer terms. We're going to multiply our inner terms, and we're going to multiply our last terms. Okay. We're going to keep this -4 over here. And in this bracket, we're going to start doing this process. So a cubed times a cubed is going to give me a to the power of 6. Negative 5b, sorry, a cubed times negative 5b is going to be negative 5a cubed b. And again, negative 5a cubed b. And then negative 5b times negative 5b is going to be positive 25b squared. All right, so now if you are marking this on your side, I want you to give yourselves a mark for getting to that first step over there. And then I actually want you to give yourselves 2 ticks. If you got everything inside that bracket right, I want you to give yourselves 2 ticks because that was a hard bracket. Now inside this bracket, we're going to simplify our like terms. So those 2 are the same as each other. So we're going to simplify them down. So we're going to have negative 4 in brackets, a to the power of 6 minus 10 a cubed b plus 25b squared. Again, I want you to give yourselves a tick for getting to this point over here. Okay, and our last step, all we're going to do is we're going to do distribution. We're going to take in this negative 4 and we're going to distribute it into our 3 terms. That's okay. 1 tick is better than no ticks, guys. So we get negative 4 a to the power of 6 plus 40 a cubed b minus 100 b squared. And that, my lovely little lambs, is my final answer. So this isn't in a test, this would probably be worth about 3 marks. We've given you more marks over here, but if we work with this tick system, that would be out of 5. How did we do? How did this go? Tell me how things went. That's okay, but hopefully you learned something from this. Like, hopefully you were able to see something you could do. Nice job, guys. 3 out of 5 is great. That's 60%. Swapping a negative and a positive, so frustrating when that happens. Stacy. Okay. Guys, if you want to take a screenshot of this question, you're welcome to. And then I would like you to give question 2 a chance. I'm going to help you out a little bit with question 2, not a huge amount, because I do want you to be able to do this. Is for question 2, you need to factorize. That one you can't factorize. You need to factorize those 2 terms. So the ones that I've highlighted in pink, those ones you need to factorize. Okay, so this one over here is a sum of cubes. See if anyone remembers that. You haven't done it for a long time. And this one over here is a trinomial. And it's a grade 10 trinomial. No, so Asipe, if you make one mistake, although in this situation it might look like you would get no more marks. So let's say you would get the first check and then nothing else. Remember, your maths teachers work on something called continued accuracy. So if you've made one mistake somewhere, then they can follow your mistake down. So they always make sure that what you've done, if it makes mathematical sense, you wouldn't get 0 out of 5. You would still get some of the marks. So if you ever see in a test, if you have a CA written in your test, that means continued accuracy. So it means you have made a mistake somewhere, but then what you did after that made a lot of mathematical sense. So you get some marks. Okay. Oh, I'm so excited to see if anyone can get this question. It's a nasty question. I'm just so excited. So for this one, there's a direct message that's come in for me asking if you need to get a lowest common denominator. You do, but if you factorize those first numerators in your first step, things will cancel. That's what I'm saying. Things will cancel. As a little hint, if you're ever given a fraction that has one of these guys down there at the bottom, which you can't factorize, because the factors of 1 are only 1 and 1, and it's impossible to get -1 from 1 and 1. If you ever see that, you know that it's going to cancel out. It's like a hint. Use the denominators to help you. That's sort of my hint. Maybe I'm giving too much away though. If you factorize your numerators correctly, you should get a really nice answer. And remember, if you're needing help while you're working, pop your hand up or chuck your questions in the chat. I'm happy to help out or answer. Okay. Yeah, cubes, sum of cubes. I am going to help you out with sum of cubes because we didn't talk about it in the beginning. Whenever we have sum or difference of cubes, what we do, is we have 2 brackets. So this is the sum of cubes situation. We have 2 brackets. Okay. We cube root our first term and we cube root our second term. So the cube root of x cubed is x, and the cube root of 1 is 1. Okay, so that's the cube root of those two. That's what gives me that. Let me write it above so you know what I've done. So this is the cube root of x cubed, and this is the cube root of 1. Okay, then what we do is we take this guy and we square it. So we say, well, what is x squared? X squared is just x squared. So that's what we write. So we say, cool, x squared. Then we take this dude and we square it. So 1 squared is just, oh, wrong color, is just 1. We just write 1. And then we work out the product of these two. So we work out the product. So that means we multiply them together and we change the sign. So we say x times 1 is 1x, and that's going to filter here into the middle. And so I'm going to have negative 1x. That's how we do sum and difference of cubes. And so we can do it like when we have dots, we can only do it if it's a minus sign, but with cubes, we can do it with a plus or minus. I'm going to have to erase the stuff that is around here to fit in the rest of our questions. So if you're wanting to take a screenshot of that, you're going to need to take one because it is going to get erased. Okay. Done it, guys. Let's go through it nice and slow. Okay. Just gonna get rid of all of these colors over here so we can do this sort of step by step. First one, we're gonna factorize that. Now, when we factorize that, that is sum of cubes. So we're gonna have x plus 1, x squared minus x plus 1. That is what that factorizes to. Okay, and that is all over the denominator that they gave us, which is x squared minus x plus 1. Okay, that is that denominator. Cool. Minus. Now up here, we're going to do a trinomial, and we're going to do the trinomial the way that we learned the grade 10 trinomials, where we have to do the crisscross method. Okay, because we've got a coefficient in front of our x squared. So we're going to do our little x. Let's just do our little x over here. We're going to break that down to 4x and x. And now we need to break down our 1. Remember, we're trying to get negative 1. So we're going to have a 1 and a 1 here. And over here, we need to get negative 3. So we're going to say negative 4x, because 4x times negative 1 will give us negative 4x. And x times 1 will give us positive 1x. And negative 4x plus 1x is going to give us negative 3x, which is what we're wanting. Okay, so that's going to simplify down over here to being 4x plus 1, x minus 1. Let's just get our colors right. So, oops, sorry. So that's green. And that is all over the denominator, 4x plus 1. Okay, so all we've done here, all we've done at this point is we factorized our x cubed plus 1 by doing sum of cubes, and we factorized our 4x squared minus 3x minus 1. That's all we did. Okay, that entire step, the only thing we've done is we factorized. That's it. Okay. Now, before I show you anything more, hit me with your questions. up at this point? Before I jump into anything more. Yeah, Tato, how can I help?
Ma'am, so it's not in all cases where you'll find factors of the last term that when you add them, they will give you the correct middle term.
No, so this is the same situation. So the factors of 1 are just 1 and 1. But remember,
So it's not in all cases that
No.
you'll get correct middle term.
Yeah, so if we have a coefficient, so if there's a number before that x squared, then we can't just do it that old way. Then we have to do it the crisscross way.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. I feel like I'm gonna butcher your name. Kwama, I feel like there should be a click that I'm not doing.
My previous name was Nomaza. My name
Oh
was
my
just changed
goodness,
because
Nomaza! That's a sneaky name.
I just had to change because my mother didn't like the fact that I was using her name, but it's fine.
Okay.
Side eye.
All right, tell
Sorry,
me what's wrong.
I just wanted to ask, like, before you continued, and I was so lost. Are we factorizing?
Yes. All we've done is we
Just
factorize the pink by doing sum of cubes, and we factorize the green by doing a trinomial.
okay. Oh,
Yes.
okay. Thank you. Thank you so
Okay.
much. I was so
Alright.
lost when I arrived.
That's okay. Don't panic. Hopefully the lostness will subside.
Thanks, ma'am.
Okay. Renee, yes, there is a video that explains the cross method. Go into factorization trinomials and you will find it there. Okay. All right. So now we get to this point over here. All we've done for sum of cubes is that process that I spoke about just now. We work out the cube root of that. That gives us the first term. The cube root of our second term gives us this term. We square that one, which gives us x squared. We square this one, which gives us the 1. We work out the product and change the sign, and that gives us our middle term. Okay, but my hint to you here, guys, is look at your denominators. Your denominators are there to give you a hint to show you what's going to cancel out. They're there to try and help you. Okay, so once we get to this point over here, then we can see this whole denominator is going to cross out with that whole denominator. And this denominator is going to cross out with that numerator. And so all we are left with is x plus 1 minus x minus 1. That's it. Because of our cancellation, that is what we are left with. Now from here, all we're going to do is we're going to do some distribution. So we're going to take that negative sign into both of those. And so we're going to have x plus 1 minus x plus 1. And then we just need to look for our like terms. So we have x minus x, which means they cancel. And we have 1 plus 1, which gives us 2. That whole big mess for the glorious answer of 2. But guys, this would be worth a lot of marks. It would be worth a lot of marks. And that's why sort of each step is important to just take nice and slowly. Try not to panic too much, guys. I'm going to leave this here for a second for those of you who want to take screenshots. No, I know, guys, but remember, the thing is with grade 10, the reason it's like such a step up from grade 9 is because we start combining all of these ideas. So in grade 9, like you learn things in like separate sections. This is what I do here. This is what I do here. And in grade 10, we're like, let's mush those all together. So you have to have a lot of different things going on in your head. So if you stop at the x plus 1 minus x minus 1, you would just not get your last mark. It was a spicy question. Just spicy, spicy, spicy. Don't stress though. There's no point in stressing. Stressing's not going to help you. Remember that we try and go over these types of questions so that if you see them in class, you have an idea of what to do and you can be like, oh, okay, I can deal with this question. Let's find like a nice easy question to end the lesson on though. Let's end with this glorious little question over here. Nice little easy question. Luckily, I'm not doing it on Human Rights Day. Okay, this is a lovely little easy question. End our lesson on, get into some like good vibes, get our energy levels up, get some happiness going. All I'm needing you to do is I'm needing you to factorize the numerator for me. So I just need you to factorize that numerator. And then you can simplify. So you're going to factorize and simplify. Factorize this guy first. Just do your best. I'm here. Michael. So start, just all you have to do to start is by factorizing that numerator there. Yeah, Mwande, how can I help?
Ma'am, did I miss question 3 somewhere, or
No,
no,
I missed over question 3. It's just too long of a question for us to do in the time we have left.
Oh, I see. All right, thank you, ma'am.
No problem. Oh, we're getting some answers coming in. I can answer. So all we're doing to start is factorizing that numerator. Just factorize this guy. Think about how we can factorize it. Think about our list of factorizing. Once we've factorized, then you're going to simplify. So once we've factorized, then we're going to simplify. I'm going to give you 1 more minute. And then I'm going to need to go through the answer just because our time is running out. Okay. Okay, so when we factorize this numerator, we're going to factorize by taking out a highest common factor. So I'm going to take out 3x, and we're going to be left with x plus 2. And that is all over 6x. And now we're going to try and simplify a little bit. So we can see that those x's over there are going to cancel. So those x's cancel each other out. 3 goes into itself once, and 3 goes into 6 2 times. Now we can't just move that 2. The 2 is at the bottom. It is a denominator, so it needs to stay at the bottom as a denominator. And so we're going to say that that is equal to x plus 2 at the top over 2. So Michael, you can take out a 2 as a factor, but the problem is it's not the highest common factor. And if we take out a 2, we're actually going to have an issue with the 3. The 2 can't go into 3, so actually we can't take out 2. Those of you who got x plus 2 over 2, a big well done. Very chuffed, nice job. Hopefully this is a little bit less scary than the last mammoth question we did. And on Wednesday, we're going to be looking at some equation work. So we're going to do some revision of equations. Nice job, guys. Very proud of you. And then your quiz on Wednesday will be like a combination of these 2 ideas.